even though ecosystems seem to not change very much, so we can say that ecosystems are balanced. Ecosystems are balanced, but over a long period of time, ecosystems can actually change quite a lot. And if we look at Australia here, we can see that at the moment, all the inland of Australia is mostly desert ecosystem. But millions of years ago, particularly when the dinosaurs were around, all of Australia, even the middle desert part now, was a rainforest. So the whole ecosystems of Australia were quite different to how they are now. So even though ecosystems seem to be balanced, they can change over time as well. Ecosystems change over time. And the first types of changes we're going to look at are natural changes. And some natural changes that you might be familiar with are things like floods and droughts, periods of low rainfall, and bushfires, which we have a lot of in Victoria in particular, and southern Australia. So all these types of changes happen naturally, and they're a normal part of the ecosystem. And actually, in many ecosystems in Australia, they're necessary to keep the ecosystem healthy. They're normal for healthy ecosystems. Some other types of changes, though, are caused by humans. So we can call these artificial or human caused changes, or human activities. The first one we can see up here is logging. And logging means chopping down trees and cutting down whole forests. And logging changes the ecosystem because it destroys lots of habitats where plants and animals would normally live in the ecosystem. And it removes food and shelter, particularly for animals that used to live there. So logging is a big change to an ecosystem. Another one we have here is mining. Digging a huge hole in the ground, like this open cut mine here, it also destroys a large amount of habitat. But on top of that, mining often releases chemicals into the environment, which can be poisonous. And often this poisons lakes and rivers that are near the mine. So that can have a big effect on the ecosystem, particularly for plants and animals near the mine. A third type of impact that humans can cause is called urbanization. And this just means building cities and suburbs. One of the main problems with urbanization, as well as destroying some habitats, if there were forests there, but it also splits habitats. Because we build roads and we build suburbs that split off one part of the habitat from another. So the animals that used to be able to move freely within the habitat now they're stuck on one side of the road or the other because it's difficult to cross. This next one is, we will call it introduced species. And these are things like foxes and rabbits, as well as domestic animals like farm animals, which are not native. But they have been brought into Australia by humans, and suddenly they impact the ecosystem by being predators or by trampling the grass, which can have big impacts on the wider ecosystem. The last one here is probably one of the most important, or the most important, which is climate change. And it's a controversial topic, but because of carbon pollution that humans have been putting into the atmosphere, this is going to change whole ecosystems in the coming decades. It's going to make nearly everywhere on Earth hotter and often less rainfall, so they'll be drier. We also know that there will be more droughts and more floods than normal, which will make ecosystems change again. And as a result, many species will go extinct, especially if we can't reduce climate change enough. So the final take-home message is something called sustainability. And sustainability means, how can we as humans reduce our impacts on the environment? So that we can still live the lives that we want to, but so that the environment is still healthy and will survive over time as well.